Elite Physique University, your source for all things physique enhancement. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Elite Physique University. I'm John Gorman, one of your hosts today. We've got Kayla and Jason in the house. We just got done talking about Semaglutide, Tirzepatide. Great podcast. If you haven't heard that, go back and listen. It's the podcast right before this one. But Jason, this one's, again, this is going to be all about you, and you've really kind of started a buzz on the interwebs, right? With this slingshot method. So we decided, well, what better time than to break this down? A lot of people are like, all right, what's Theobald up to now? Because you've always kind of been ahead, right? Like you've always been that thinker that doesn't wait for things to come out and then you're like, oh, I'm going to apply that. You're kind of somebody that helps move the industry along. And this sounds super fascinating. So let's just start this off with, what the hell is the slingshot method?
Yeah, so I called it that just because like you're basically pulling back to get much further forward. And so, when a bodybuilder or even any physique enthusiast, if you push calories throughout the year to build your muscle, you're a bodybuilder. I don't care if you don't get on stage. So what happens after that calorie push, the more someone's more prone to type 2 diabetes, like myself, and family history, the worse your health is usually after that push. After my last one, like I said, my insulin was 16, cortisol was 22, my triglycerides were up. All this was up because, with cortisol up, I'm dumping sugars nonstop. And that's what I see in a lot of my guys, especially my guys who are trying to jump classes and we're eating 850, 900 carbs. Their blood sugars come up. Usually by the end, they're feeling inflamed. Their gut doesn't feel good. So I was thinking to myself, okay, I mean, we all do health phases, but how can we speed this up with what we have at our disposal now, right? And so I started thinking about it. Like, I never really thought that GLP-1s made people lose weight, or muscle. I knew that there was more to it because as I started to read the science on what it was doing, it made no sense to me to think that was causing muscle loss.
Right.
And we covered it on the last episode, a lot of the things that it does. And so I thought, you know what? Why can't we use this to get health back really quick and not let this inflammation go on and have to extend these health phases and get that back quick, get that glucagon down, get that insulin firing right again, get those blood sugars down, get the trigs down, get the cholesterol back in a better place fast as we can, and get the body healthy. And so, but what I also added was a few other medications that I have access to at Advanced Vitality. And there's something called low dose naltrexone out there. And this naltrexone is not new. So if you're going to go Google this and think I'm talking about the amount that they give people to get off, drugs and different things, that's not what I'm talking about. This is not the amount that they give to get off alcohol or get off opioids. It's a fraction of that. It's 4 milligrams, whereas they usually give you 100. And at those low doses, it pushes inflammation extremely low, quiets immune systems, which the inflammation will be up after a push like that, especially if you're using PED, especially if you're using GH, all these things that bodybuilders do. And plus, if you pushed insulin, you probably are losing sensitivity. So I added in LDN to bring down my inflammation very quickly. And then I added in something called methylene blue. And if you're not familiar with that, research it. But what this does is it clears reactive oxygen species. And all of our cells go through this to convert oxygen into energy, okay? And so this is a good thing until it gets too heavy and too much in the body. The reason it's a good thing is because it causes us to make antioxidants, which we need. But when you have too much RAS build up, the cell overheats, just like an engine of your car. Think it starts smoking, you got to pull over, you got to pour water on it. Same thing. And this RAS is what ages us. Look it up. ROS. Over time, this whole process is what ages us. It breaks down the cell. Well, methylene blue helps clear this. So I add in the LDN, and I add in Tirzepatide. I'm clearing out all the areas that I need to. I'm quieting immune system. I'm bringing inflammation down. I'm pushing into autophagy pathways, lowering glucagon, getting insulin to fire right again. and lowering RAS. So I'm putting the body into a quicker state to be receptive again. I'm getting fresh hormone receptors by pushing the autophagy. I'm getting the body into a position where it's more receptive to insulin again. I'm getting inflammation down. So now you're in a much better position to go back and push that body hard again. What I found was of a lot of my guys, we could get them at decent numbers, but to get them into the 70s on a blood glucose after they've been pushing 900, I mean, it would take 2 years probably.
Yeah.
They don't have that kind of time. So what you end up doing is doing a health phase for 10 weeks. Blood sugars are 89, 90, and you're like, cool, let's go again. And it just continually builds up inflammation. So my thought was, why can't I use these to reset faster, get my body in the best optimal state so that when I push or my client pushes, the negative aspects of that push are less because I am always resetting them back to a very, very, very healthy baseline. And my thought process was, well, you pull these out. You could probably keep the LDN if you want, but you pull these out and now push. So go ahead and push the calories up. And then my thought process was, well, when you're on things like metformin, you waste a little carbs. You might be wasting a little carbs with tirzepatide. So I thought, pull it out. And you can still do that. But now I'm playing with the fact that these micro doses might have a lot of application in terms of anabolism when you're still pushing and you put your PEDs in or whatever and your food up. Drop the dose down. So maybe you clear out on 25 units per tirzepatide, but when you push, maybe you only use 6 units, maybe you only use 12. So you've dropped it, but you keep that inflammation lower. And because all these processes are now at a high level, you're going to build muscle faster. You're going to respond to your supplements faster. You're going to put your food where it really should be. So that was the thinking behind it. And that's for the athletes that I've used it with who are open-minded, the results were quick and fast. And I just posted more results today of my physique and where I'm at. And it's kind of blowing me away with how I'm responding, to be honest with you. Especially at my age with, where things were. So, it's early, but that's the theory behind it. And I'm still testing it and playing with it. And I'm sure it'll be modified again, but that's the idea behind it.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share this screen here. I want to throw a picture up, and if you would, just kind of, it's going to show. Can you guys see that? Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is first of all, I can see glute lines.
Yeah.
Give us an idea of, now this whole process has led to this, correct? Like
Yes.
about where you're at now.
Yep.
So prior to this, you weighed what?
I was down to 178. I'm 191 in the pics.
Okay.
And I'm way leaner, way fuller. And I'm not using anything extra of PEDs that I would have used in the past to diet. In fact, it's less. And so I don't know if I've ever been having some sort of glute line starting to box in at 191. To be honest with you,
No,
at least not in the last 4 years of competing.
I've never
Maybe in
seen that.
2018 when I almost went to the Olympia, maybe around that weight. But that's been since I was 40. I'm now 46, and I feel like I'm getting that type of response again.
Yeah, which is pretty interesting. So I wanted to throw that up. Do you have any pictures on your page here that we can use for YouTube? Any other examples farther back, or was that the best one?
That's my newest. I'm sure I didn't post any pics at I mean, here's Ty using the slingshot method. If you go down, there's Tyler. You can pull that up. He used it, and then we were getting ready to. This was right after he basically used the methylene blue, the LDN, and the TERS, and he used half of the lowest medical dose. And then at this point, we were just getting ready to remove things and push up. And so we're working on building him up lean. So that was like done in 4 weeks.
Yeah, so that's Tyler Woosley. For
Yeah,
those of
and
us that know.
that's fast results.
Yeah, extremely.
Yeah.
Have you noticed like with Tyler maybe for example any sort of I guess like rebound coming off of those to push like or does it I guess, how do I describe it? Like when you come off of like a diuretic, you have a rebound, you hold more water kind of thing. You have that kind of effect, not necessarily holding water, of course, but with coming off of all of those things and pushing up then.
It's more just a swelling effect because it's the same thing that I did. I did it for 6 weeks and then I pushed. And you really just grow nicely. Now, here's the thing. Is this something I would do with menopausal women, pull them off cold turkey after 6 weeks and push their calories up? No, their bodies are not going to operate like us bodybuilders. This is a high fitness physique enthusiast use of this med for a short period of time in a micro dose setting to basically put our body into a quick, better optimal health phase using less time and getting it more optimal. So he did not have any negativity coming off of it. We pushed up pads and we pushed up food, and he just started to swell and look just round and lean. And then, as body fat starts to fade, we can always pop back on in 6 weeks. We can pop back on in 8 if he wants to. Anything that we want to do, kind of rinse and repeat. And I'm still working on how long can you push and stay lean, and when do you go back on, and could you just go on for 3? Could you go on for 4? I don't know the answers to all those things yet, but I'm just thinking outside the box with what we have at our disposal and how these things are helping us move out senescent cells. Well, that means we got new cells coming in with better hormone receptors. And how do we, keep those cells healthier? Well, we got to lower RAS so we can bring all these things in. So we have all these tools at our disposal now. So it's like, why not apply this to one of the sports that are putting really a lot of amount of inflammation on our bodies, and that's bodybuilding.
It's pretty interesting, pretty fascinating. And I know if people want to continue to follow along and watch, you do a good job of posting up on your Instagram page. We've got that linked in the show notes. Just so they can see the updates. And it's not just about pictures. Like, you do a good job of explaining what the hell's going on. So that's why it's created such a buzz. A lot of people post pictures, but you do a good job of explaining. So,
yeah, I want people to, I don't want anyone to take my word for it. I want them to go out and go research it. Like, type in semaglutide and autophagy, type in, senescent cells, and learn, figure out what I'm talking about so that you make your own decisions, but be open-minded to the things that we have out there. It's never as black and white as things make it, especially the media. You know what I mean? So keep an open mind and realize that there's a lot of ways that these can be applied to really improve someone's health profile.
Yeah, I like a lot of this stuff. You're kind of always on the leading edge. So, we'd be looking back at this 5, 10 years from now. And I think the whole industry is going to kind of shift forward with a lot of the stuff we talked about in the last episode and this one. Go ahead,
I
Caleb.
think coaches will be using this in smart ways within the next year. A lot of the top coaches, once they read about this and realize what it can do, I've even seen my own midsections like snatch in more like it's been in my 30s, whereas recently it just wasn't as tight and I couldn't get it to look the same. And now it's that look starting to come back. And I believe that fading insulin sensitivity in some way weakens the TVA. I don't know if it's neuropathy. I'm not sure what it is, but if you look at a lot of diabetics, they have this big old belly that just hangs. And I think by reversing this and making these processes so efficient, I can now do a vacuum, and I couldn't have done a vacuum a year ago or 6 months ago. So I think I can fix people's guts with it too. You got to do your vacuum work, and you've got to pull back on food, but I think we can reverse a lot of the metabolic inefficiencies that actually cause, or at least aid in the guts that we see in the bubble guts. So there's a lot of application here that can be played around with still. I think you're going to see a lot of coaches using it in ways from here on out.
Yeah, interesting. Kayla, do you have anything that you wanted to ask or add?
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you had done labs like at each point of this process just to see the difference, like his start of his 8 weeks of like the pulling back, and then when you did that labs and then pushing up doing labs, like just to see, like especially during like his phase of like growing, of like where the point is where his PEDs pushing that becomes like too much, and then you need to.
So I'm doing my labs. So I
Okay.
I did my labs. My insulin was 16. And then 6 weeks later, after I ran the Slingshot course, my insulin was 6, which is ideal.
Mhm.
That happened in 4 weeks. And then what I'm going to do after I do a push and then run it again, I'm going to see if, like, where am I at the end of the push? Like, did I go right back to 16? Did I just bump up to 8? Did I stay at 6 and see where I'm at after I've put carbs back up and pushed and the med is out? Because I want to see, like, if I get to 16, if I get to 6 weeks and it's still at 6, well, that's awesome and I can keep going. But if it's right back to 16, then I know my body needs it every 6. So I'm trying to figure out, like, how long can you leave someone, how long will the effects be of that slingshot, that method, to allow them to grow and keep those markers in good range? And that's what we have to kind of see next. So
right. And you're not keeping anything as far as like methylene blue or tirzepatide in now during a push, correct?
not during a push, no. But when I diet, you'll put it in.
Use that in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now the methylene
that's what I would be curious about.
I don't think, here's the thing. It all comes down to money. I don't think keeping the methylene blue in at like 2 or 3 doses a week at 10 mgs would hurt you, because keeping raws low during a diet would really help. But during the push, I just figure, you know what, just take all the things out, and see, where you're at and if you need to do it. So I was just trying to keep it more economical for people. But
yeah,
I think anytime you can, clear out raws and keep it lower, you're gonna be helping yourself with anti-aging, and methylene blue helps with collagen and different things too. So it's pretty cool little sup. But yeah, so during the push, I would pull it out. But like I said earlier in the beginning, I'm starting to think now a very low dose can be anabolic, because it just keeps these processes so in shape and sharp that your food's just going right where it needs to go. And I don't think it's to the point where you're going to waste your carbs, where you're in that position where, like, I know, like metformin, when you get the higher doses, it's like sometimes you just feel kind of flat always. And that's what I don't want with this. So it's like, where's that micro dose maybe that you actually are in more anabolism because the processes are so high, but you're not burning through your carbs. So I'm thinking maybe a microdose in while you grow might still be a good idea too, especially if someone's pushing GH high and they're prone to fading and getting that. Because if, to the listeners, if you're using GH, you're going to liberate more carbs into the glycogen in the bloodstream, just like fatty acids, and that can cause a trickle of insulin all day, which can lead to losing insulin sensitivity. But could a small microdose protect you from losing that? I don't know yet, but those are novel things that I've thought about.
So do your labs after 6 weeks, and if it looks good, then add in the microdose there and keep going, possibly.
Could, but if your labs look good, maybe you don't add it in. But like I said, I just, I don't know yet on pushing. I'm gonna play with it, just to see, do you grow do you grow even better with a microdose? I don't know. But there's a doctor out there, Dr. Tina Moore, Tina with a Y, and she was even talking about how at low doses she believes it can help muscle building. And I tend to agree with her. If you look at everything it does, it makes sense that it would at a lower dose.
That's where my brain was just going, because when you think about, how you do lose some of those carbs and you use something like metformin, right? And like you said, sometimes you're a little flatter, you're just burning through freaking glucose so fast. What a lot of people don't realize is when you eat protein and you eat carbs, carbs actually fuel the process of protein synthesis. They fuel the process of growth. So if they're being used more efficiently, right, it's probably going to fuel that process of growth. And if you think about those meals added up over a certain amount of time, you might be getting a little bit extra growth, or fueling that process a little bit better, more efficiently. I can see how that makes complete sense.
Well, think about it this way too. Lantus is used by bodybuilders, and that's a slow acting trickle out of insulin all day to shuttle better, right? But it's exogenous, and it's going to cause you lose insulin sensitivity over time. But this is telling your body to release its own insulin upon eating. So it's very kind of similar in thought process of that. But instead of losing sensitivity, you're giving beta cells a rest. Because remember, when that glucagon comes down and you can clear blood sugar and you're not constantly dumping it, then your beta cells aren't constantly have to release insulin. It's only releasing it when you eat. And that's what you need. And so it gives those beta cells a rest. So there you go.
Very, very interesting. I'd love to see some research done on that over time. That'd be pretty
And
awesome.
I'm sure they will, but there's a lot of research studies out there. But like I said, I don't know anything on really trained people, and that's
That's what
just
I was
how.
about to say. Like we need to get some physique enhancement involved, but it's tough with studies, as we all
Yeah.
know. So,
Yeah.
all right, great episode. Hit us up in the show notes. We've got all of our emails linked if you want to have questions answered. If you we're not someone's going to throw you in a bunch of emails and blast you like that. So if you have questions, just hit us up. All of our contact information is there. Jason, it's been a great episode. I know our listeners appreciate it. We appreciate it. Hope you all have a great day. We'll see you on the next one.
See you guys.
Bye.